What's up, everybody? Thank you for tapping into some Untapped Keg, our podcast about sobriety and mental health. We are part of the Believe Podcast Network. Today's show is brought to you by Sober Athletic Wear, NordVPN, and Way Skincare. But more about that later. I am one of the hosts, RJ Zimmerman, and it's our 100th episode. And I'm very excited because I took it for granted and I was not completely sure we were going to get here, to be honest, but we made it. And it's a special show because it's somebody who, my good friend, and I want to throw some flowers out there to Jennifer. And I know that she's in the chat, and she does Breakfast and Feelings, and she has Feeling Words mug that comes with a marker so you can find the words that your brain is looking for. But she turned me on to this guest that she has so many other people, and the amount that she has turned me into a better person just through the book she's recommended, the people that we talk to, and everybody else. Like, her effect on my life is so positive, and I just want her to know that I am extremely grateful for everything that she's done. And you can reach out anytime and I'll be there for you. But that's Jenny. Go to twitch.tv/Jennifer. So this guest is somebody who I've been excited since I first reached out and talked to him over Twitter DMs. And he graciously said, here's a couple books, read these books and I'll come on. And I was like, okay, I can do that. I can knock these out. And the way that these books have touched my soul and helped me to not just be a better person, but be a better parent, be more open in my mental health, and be more, I guess, aware of the things that I do throughout the day and make some positive changes. Our guest is author and founder of Train to Be Clutch, business and life consultancy, through which he works with top performers all over the world from many different professions. Joshua Medcalf. How are you doing this morning, Joshua?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me this morning. Excited to be here and get to chat with you.
Before we get too far into it, I'm going to have an ad, but one thing that I do want to say is I'm not just tossing these flowers because you're on. Like, I truly and honestly mean this. So, this is episode 100. We are going to get deep. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be energetic, and it's going to be motivating conversations. And just talking with you before, yes, I love listening to people who are passionate, and your passion comes through in your writing, which I think is not something you always get in, especially books that are geared towards this mindset change, right? Like, a lot of them are kind of dull and boring, but I did not really slog through any of these books. I just consumed them, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
I'm grateful to hear that. I do my best to write books for people that hate to read, and I try and write in a way that actually makes people want to stay with it. And I kind of have learned in the same way that you have that there's a lot of people that have written books that I'm not sure why they were writing them, but when I read them, I have a very hard time getting past page 5, 10, 20. And so I've never wanted to write in that way. So I'm grateful to hear that that's the impact.
It truly is. And I'm really glad that when you were writing it, you had a write this book for RJ Zimmerman, like right there. So you knew. All right, Joshua. Now we get to have our conversation, and it won't be interrupted too much. So here's kind of where I would love to start. All right. So I have this one right here, Pound the Stone. And when I started reading it, I was like, okay, it's about a high school kid who is going through these changes. Like, we've all been there. Like, we all do need the change and everything, but the more you get into it, the more you realize the life lessons that are in the small print, right? So can you describe Pound the Stone, not the message necessarily that you're trying to get out, but like there's so much of life around it. So how were you able to capture that feeling of knowing that you need growth and being able to find it and get through to hard-headed people such as myself?
Well, it probably has to do with when you're reading that introduction about the challenges in self-medication. I think I struggle with most of the things on that list. And I've really tried from the very beginning to be really authentically vulnerable, transparent about my life, my struggles, my journey. I don't regurgitate shit that I read in books. I try and share authentically from what I've done, the experiences I've had. When I first started out at Duke and I got to work with our sports psychologist there and realized that I was a huge head case and that I needed help and didn't even understand it completely at the time. But I watched as I went from being the last pick on the team to finishing second in points to the best player in the country at Duke. And so really that's all I've tried to do is either create, write, become what I wish that I would have had whenever I was growing up, create the tools that I wish that I would have had, and share my story and struggles. And a lot of the reason why I wrote Pound the Stone is because that's not my most popular book. It's not the most famous book. The most famous book is Chop Wood, Carry Water. And I love Chop Wood, Carry Water, and it's changed my life in many different ways. Some of them good, some of them more challenging. But it completely changed my life. But what I noticed is that it's, in my opinion, and I wrestle back and forth with this often, it's just very level one. It's very surface level. It's the go-to book in sports psychology and gets used in tons of sales organization because it's so simple. Now, simple doesn't mean easy, but it's very simple. And part of my frustration with that book is that people stop there. And, they don't realize that it's the fourth book that I wrote. It wasn't the first book that I wrote. And what I really wanted to do with Pound the Stone is I wanted to get into the real, the things that are below the surface at a heart level and dealing with heart posture and authentic vulnerability and just all the really difficult life stuff that happens. And in Chop Wood, we were able to somehow, in such a simplistic, short story, really explain things to people in a way that can kind of create this illusion that it's going to be easy and it's going to be smooth and it's going to happen very quickly. And with Pound the Stone, what I really wanted to do is deal with stuff like suicidal ideation and depression and the demons and the real shit that people have to navigate on a daily basis, because that's what I've had to deal with my whole life. After, whenever I was 9, my baby brother drowned. I was the one that pulled him out of the pool. Most likely got manic depression from PTSD. Was found out at 32 that I was on the autism spectrum and dealt my whole life without understanding why it was so hard for me to have normal social interactions. And so I just really wanted to deal with the real stuff. And I feel like so many people in my industry, they write stuff and they say stuff that makes people feel good and what they want to hear. And they don't deal with the real shit. And that was really my focus in that book. And that's why it's my favorite book out of the 9 that I've written.
And I've heard you say that. And that's why I wanted to start with Pound the Stone, because I know that it's your favorite. And you know, there's a lot in the book and there's a lot to take away from it. You know, one thing that you talk about is like mental health, and right now that answer, like you talked about your own mental health and things that you've gone through, and you didn't know that you had to deal with stuff till the sports psychologist in college, and didn't know, you know, why socially, you know, your relationships were not always 100%. Like, I think now people are starting to voice, and I think that there were people, but they were just on the fringes before, right? People are starting to voice that mental health isn't just depression, isn't just mania, isn't just addiction, isn't just, you know, it's not these little things. It's literally our entire lives. It's all of us. And the fact that you're able to take that and put that onto the pages of Pound the Stone, I'm sorry, as, you know, honestly, it's freeing. Reading it, like the heart posture you're talking about and like that growth mindset, like it's just knowing that there's other people that understand, like, and then you begin to understand, like, I need to look at things from a whole health perspective and not just physically. I'm fine. I'm taking care of myself. I'm doing all this. And it's good. But like one of your...
Well, sorry to interrupt you. I don't want to miss this point, because I think that the other thing that happens is, like, and this is what happened with Chopwood a lot, is that how about, well, my performance is great. I'm killing it with my performance. I'm crushing it. I'm crushing these goals. I'm crushing everybody's expectations. I'm killing it. And I'm dying inside.
Yeah.
That's more of that motivation as well, of like, sure, I can help people perform better, but I know better than anybody. I've outperformed every expectation I've ever had on me my entire life, and have dealt with stuff that is so dark, it's not even funny. And it usually comes on the other side of having crushed some performance expectation.